Imagine for a moment that you could reach into the future and steal from it. You could take the labor, the energy, and the prosperity of a generation not yet born and consume it today. It feels like magic. It feels like free money. But there is a fundamental law of the universe that applies to economics just as strictly as it applies to physics. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is only transferred. What we call debt is not just a number on a screen. It is a claim on future time. It is the act of consuming the harvest before the seeds have even been planted. And for the last 300 years, the architects of the global financial system have been building a structure so vast, so complex, and so heavy that it has become the gravity that holds the modern world together. And like gravity, it is crushing us. To understand the trap, we must go back to when debt was personal. In the ancient world, if a king wanted to wage war, he had to open his treasury. If the gold wasn't there, the war didn't happen. The constraint was physical. Reality had a hard edge. But then, a shift occurred, a realization that changed the course of human history. Rulers realized they didn't need gold. They just needed the promise of gold. They realized that if they could borrow money today and promise to pay it back with the spoils of victory tomorrow, they could wage wars far larger than their treasuries allowed. This was the birth of the bond market. It was sold as a way to fund civilization, but in reality, it was the monetization of violence. The first great mountains of sovereign debt were not built to construct schools or hospitals. They were built to buy cannonballs. By the time the smoke cleared over Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries, a new precedent had been set. Governments learned that they never actually had to pay the debt back. They only had to pay the interest. As long as they could find a new lender to pay off the old lender, the pile could grow forever. The debt became eternal. Fast forward to the 20th century. The scale of the machine grew terrifying. 2 world wars shattered the global economy. The cost of industrial slaughter was so high that no amount of taxation could cover it. If governments had tried to tax their citizens for the full cost of the war, the citizens would have revolted. So, they chose the silent tax. They chose inflation. This is the mechanism that most people feel, but few understand. When a government cannot pay its debts, and it cannot tax its people any further without risking a guillotine, it resorts to printing the difference. It dilutes the currency. Think of your money as a share of stock in the economy. When the central bank prints more money to buy government debt, they're issuing more shares. Your share of the pie gets smaller, even if the number on your paycheck stays the same. The debt of the war was paid not by the government, but by the savers who saw their purchasing power dissolve into thin air. But the true masterpiece of this system was constructed in 1971. Until then, there was still a tether. The global financial system was loosely anchored to gold. It was a nuisance for those who wanted to spend without consequence. Gold is honest. It is finite. You cannot print gold. When the link to gold was severed, money ceased to be an asset. It became a liability. The dollar and every currency pegged to it became fiat. Let it be done. Backed by nothing but faith and the military power of the state. From that moment on, debt was no longer a bug in the system. It became the system. In a fiat world, money is created into existence through borrowing. When you take out a mortgage, the bank doesn't lend you existing money. It types numbers into a computer, creating that money out of nothing, backed by your promise to work for the next 30 years. If all debt were paid off tomorrow, every dollar in existence would vanish. The currency is the debt. This is the trap. We cannot stop borrowing, because to stop borrowing is to stop the flow of blood to the economy. We are on a treadmill that must spin faster and faster just to stay in the same place. So, where did all this debt go? It went into the asset prices. It went into the housing markets, creating the illusion of wealth. It went into the stock markets, detaching them from economic reality. We live in a time of financial repression. It is a technical term for a simple, brutal reality, keeping interest rates below the rate of inflation. It is a slow-motion default. Imagine you lend the government $100. They promise to pay you back with 2% interest, but inflation is 5%. Every year, you lose 3% of your purchasing power. You are effectively paying the government to hold your money. This is how the mountain of global debt is being managed. It isn't being paid off. It is being inflated away. The value of the debt is being eroded by destroying the value of your savings. It is a transfer of wealth from the prudent to the profligate, from the saver to the debtor, from the citizen to the state. The psychological toll of this system is heavy, even if we can't articulate it. Why does it feel like you have to work harder today to buy the same life your parents had 30 years ago? Why does a house cost 10 times an average salary when it used to cost 3? It is not because houses have become 10 times better. It is because the money has become 10 times weaker. We are running up a down escalator. The currency is losing its value faster than we can earn it. This forces everyone to become a speculator. You can't just save money in a bank account. It will rot. You are forced to gamble in the stock market or buy real estate you can barely afford just to preserve what you have earned. The system has turned society into a casino where the house not only wins, but the house also owns the chips. And now we stand at a precipice. The global debt to GDP ratios are at levels that historically have only been seen during the collapse of empires. The central banks are trapped. If they raise interest rates to fight inflation, the debt becomes too expensive to service and the system crashes. If they lower rates to save the system, inflation runs rampant and the currency collapses. They're walking a tightrope over a canyon of their own making. There is no exit strategy. There's no plan to pay it back. The plan is to roll it over, to extend and pretend, to kick the can down the road until the road runs out. But mathematics is patient. It waits. History tells us that debt cycles of this magnitude end in one of two ways: a hard default, where the promises are broken openly, or a soft default, where the currency is destroyed to honor the nominal value of the promises. Either way, the future has already been spent. We are living in the time that was sold. The luxury of the present is the poverty of the future. The debt trap is not just a financial arrangement, it is a cage. And the most unsettling part isn't that we are trapped inside it. It's that we still think we have the keys. Subscribe, history repeats, unless you see it coming.